Welcome back to Positively Ole Miss. We're doing our conference preview shows, and we start with the Kentucky Wildcats here today. Vinny Hardy is in the house, and he's going to tell us all about the Wildcats. I know about Craig Rodriguez. I know a little bit that they have a new offensive coordinator, but what the Wildcats going to look like this year?
Man, appreciate you having me, Steve. The question probably on the offensive side. Got a new offensive coordinator, Liam Cohen coming in. Everybody in the conference has seen how they've been able to run the ball for the past few years and struggle to throw the ball. Not have a lot of balance. Some of it was due to injury. Eddie Grand never really had a QB1 healthy. Drew Barker was set to be that guy. He got hurt, and then you had to flip to Steven Johnson on the fly. Terry Wilson gets hurt, and so you flip to Lynn Bowden, and it just something always happened to really never really got to see what he's going to do with a quarterback that was healthy. And to his credit, he was able to adjust and still win enough games and be bowl eligible and all that. Now you get Liam Cohen in from the Rams. Joey Gatewood transferred from Auburn a couple years ago. Will Levis coming in from Penn State here to start fall camp. Bo Allen, son of Kentucky player Bill Allen, is there. So we're going to see, can we have some balance? Can Chris Rodriguez and all those running backs run without 8 or 9 stacking the box? And can we make defenses play Kentucky's offense a little more honestly?
Now, this offensive coordinator, I think, is from the Sean McVay tree. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, from the Rams.
Okay, I'm curious about the quarterback position because Kentucky found a little niche with that run game and doing things with formations they were doing, and they recruited to it, and they were really good at it. I am worried about a system change right now and whether or not Kentucky has the personnel to run it. Who do they have at quarterback to pull this off?
It's the competition is coming down to Joey Gatewood transferred in from Auburn. He was there last year. Bo Allen, his dad played for Kentucky. Bo Allen is a sophomore. He's going to be in the mix. Will Levis, who Cohen had a connection with from Penn State, is a grad transfer, and he wasn't eligible to get here until the fall. He wasn't there for spring ball, but it's all about to go down now in fall camp between the three of those guys. And however the dust settles is we'll see who the starter is going to be. You heard a lot of good things about Gatewood in the spring, but you hear that Levis is supposed to be pretty good as well. So we'll, open competition. It's a clean slate. It's a new coach. So everybody's going to have a shot to impress him and get noticed this coming fall.
Yeah, I'm real interested. It sounds like a dark horse a little bit to see Bo Allen in that system and see how he performs once fall camp opens up. Let's move to the trenches, which have become pretty formidable under Stoops over the last couple of years, the offensive and defensive line. How are you guys looking there?
Still looking good, and that's the thing. He's actually recruited a lot of depth. He redshirted an entire class last year. You lose a lot of good guys like a Landon Young at tackle, Drake Jackson at center to the NFL. Darian Kennard, who could have went to the draft as well, is coming back, and he's slimming down a little bit to move out to right tackle. So that's some experience coming back. Luke Fortner is coming back. So a lot of guys are coming back, so they're still going to be stable in the trenches. And that's something that, Kentucky's usually a big drop-off from first string to second string, but that offensive line is a lot of depth, and they're a lot of plugging in a lot of guys. Jagger Burton from Lexington might come in as a true freshman and start, really highly touted high school player. He has a chance as well. So the depth there is still, we're rolling our eyes. I'm still getting used to it because, all the big boys, this is what everybody does. You reload. We're moving into, we're not there yet, but Kentucky's moving into a lot of areas where they've been able to reload in places and not have a drop-off from year to year just because they lose some guys to the draft.
Yeah. Now, over on the defensive side of the ball, which is obviously Stoops' forte and what he's known for, what are we looking like on that side of the ball?
Still looking good too. You had Justin Rogers was the highly touted D tackle out of Michigan. That's should be able to step in and play. Bohanna has gone to the Cowboys. Marquand McCall should be able to step in and fill his spot. The question is probably at linebacker. You lose Jamin Davis, and we saw the unfortunate incident with Chris Oates, who had a medical issue, was lost for last year. If not for that, we might not have even known who Jamin Davis was. So again, that's the depth that we haven't been used to seeing at Kentucky before. Um, Had a couple guys transfer in. You got a freshman in Trevin Wallace, an inside linebacker, and they'll be able to get their shot. It might be a little bit thin, but they'll be ready too. JJ Weaver is coming back off a knee injury. Maybe second half of the season he can kind of hit his stride on the outside and provide some pass rush to go along with Josh Paschal.
Okay. Now, from the outside looking in, the way I see it, Georgia and Florida are they're the top of the division. The bottom, the train wrecks, are Vanderbilt and Tennessee, and South Carolina. And you and Missouri are kind of fighting for that third place finish in the East. Is that kind of how you see it as well?
Probably so. And Missouri's getting a lot of love, which they beat LSU to start things off last year, and that kind of got drink with some hype. I gotta look. They won head to head last year. They beat Kentucky. You can't deny it. Prior to that, Kentucky beat them like 4 or 5 years in a row. I still don't think Missouri is there yet. Now, if they come to Lexington and win week 2, I'll stand corrected. But I still think Kentucky is still a little bit ahead of them. Last year, when they did win the game out in Columbia, there's no moral victories and no excuses. Coach Slarman, Kentucky's offensive line coach, he had been battling cancer for 2 years. They go to Knoxville and win in Neyland for the first time since '84. That's the last game he was able to travel to. So he didn't travel to Missouri. He really took a turn for the worse and eventually passed away. There was just a lot going on when they played Missouri. Missouri won 20-10, fair and square. But I think, all things considered, I still think Kentucky will handle business in week 2. And I'm trying to be objective. I'm not trying to be a homer. I still think we're a little bit ahead of them, and we'll beat them in week 2 and still kind of be ahead of them when the dust settles at the end of conference play.
It should be really interesting to see how you guys stack up against Missouri in your game against Mississippi State, even though that'll look completely different. All those mid-tier games, because that is where the upwards to finishing third in the East is going to happen, maybe second. I have just between you and me and everybody listening at home, I have major issues with Florida and the trap that's going to be with forcing Emory Jones to play Kyle Trask offense because they're two different guys.
Yeah, I kind of think they might take a step back as well. Dan Mullen says crazy stuff from time to time. Is he going to the NFL? What's really going on down there? As far as your rivals down there in Starkville, I know you guys can't stand them, but I think they have a long way to go. We play them every year. That's Kentucky's cross-divisional rival from the West. They didn't run the ball at all. They have no running game to speak of. I don't know if Leach is going to fix that this year or not. But normally they're physical. They beat you up, and it's a knockdown, drag-out game when you play Mississippi State. And in years past, Kentucky's had some good teams that could have challenged and won more games and dropped the game to Mississippi State at the end of a 2 or 3 game stretch. Couldn't beat the Bulldogs. You get them this year, you got LSU, then Georgia, and then Mississippi State. But you got to bye, I think, after Georgia before you play Mississippi State. And I still don't see them being as physical as they normally are. So I think, Kentucky can still handle business against the Pirate and crew down there in Starkville.
Yeah, it's really a weird thing to see Mississippi State playing this way because you have decades, like if you're me, like 40 years of Mississippi State playing a certain way.
Yeah.
And that just went out the window. It's absolutely amazing. Let's talk about your rival for a second.
2 yards a game last year. I think that's all they ran for. It's so weird.
Yeah, they run the ball or pass the ball 85% of the time in this offense. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But let's talk about your rival now. We talked about mine. How do you see Louisville going into the season?
They're the ACC. I mean, outside of Clemson, I still think it's you talked about 40 years, so you're old enough to remember Florida State back when they were Florida
Mm-hmm.
State and Miami when that was Miami. Outside of Clemson, I don't. The ACC just still is trying to catch up. Satterfield had a decent year. I think he was coach of the year his first year. Kentucky's blown them out the past couple of years they played them. Even the year they had Lynn Bowden, they blew them out. The past 2 years Kentucky played them is 101 to 23 is the combined score of the two games. Um, I still think it's a ways to go. Look, you look at Kentucky last year, 4-6 in the SEC, play an 8-win ranked NC State team in the bowl game and beat them. So I think that's kind of SEC ACC. That's where the landscape is. So I still see Kentucky, and they've been winning the recruiting battle within the state
Mm-hmm.
too. Getting a lot of guys out of Louisville, getting the good players that we get. Kentucky doesn't produce as many as Mississippi and Georgia, but Kentucky's getting the guys in Kentucky to come to Kentucky. So I still think we're 2 or 3 steps ahead of the Cards as well right now.
Yeah, as you know, or maybe you don't know, Ole Miss opens with Louisville in Atlanta on Labor Day.
Yeah, so hotty toddy.
Exactly. Hey, man, I want to say thank you for coming on. I kept you a little bit longer than I said I would, but I really do appreciate it, and good luck to you guys moving forward.
Man, I appreciate it, Steve. And look, I'm still licking my wounds from the last 2 games we played against Ole Miss. Last year, that 42-41 game when y'all beat us, and then the time before that when DK Metcalf was just jumping all over our corners. We had leads in both of those games and couldn't finish them, and y'all ripped our hearts out. But it
Yeah,
is what
I do apologize for that, but thank you
you're
very
not
much,
sorry.
man.
You're not sorry.
Hey, let's do this again once the season starts.
Hey, for sure, Steve. I appreciate it, man. All the best. Beat those Cards and start y'all season off right too.
All right, now take care of them dogs as well.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Take care.
Appreciate it.